Now, another guy that I think you're higher on than maybe a lot of the fan base is Javon Kinlaw, right? So he was obviously picked with the first round pick a couple years ago, and some people are looking at him and not seeing, I guess. Obviously, it's coming off of kind of like a swap for DeForest Buckner, and 49ers just saw how much production we got out of Buckner those years he was with the team. So, can you tell us a little bit about what you see in Kinlaw and what you think his ceiling could be as a player, and especially here with the 49ers?
Yeah, I don't know if we obviously don't know if Kinlaw is going to reach Buckner status, but Buckner didn't reach Buckner status right away either. There was a little bit of development in there, and took him a little bit to get his feet under him. And I think Kinlaw was battling maybe a previous injury last season too. But he is another guy that when he's on, he eats space for the defensive line, so he can create one-on-one matchups for other players. And he's a guy that when he gets a one-on-one matchup, I wouldn't bet on the offensive lineman blocking him very easily. It's a matter of getting those matchups, and I think they're still trying to figure that out with him. But when they do figure it out, having the depth and the rotation to keep him fresh, I think they're going to get a lot more of those matchups later on in games where Kinlaw's going to win them one-on-one, just because he's so big and strong. I mean, he was pushing guys around, at South Carolina and in the Alabama game they played and some other games. But he's gonna come around, and when he takes off, it's just going to be that much better. So I think fans need to be a little more patient with him than they're wanting to be because, of his first round pick status and things like that. But they really need to be patient with that one because as we even saw with Buckner and Armstead, like those guys didn't come around right away, and then they did when the conditions were right, and Kinlaw will too. So Kinlaw has a chance to be a very special player, and I think he's going to end up being a very special player. I don't think they missed on that one.
So I think one of the big critiques is, or one of the, I guess the thought process behind Kinlaw is he seems pretty well developed in at least the run game as far as being able to be a run stopper. But where people are seeing weaknesses is kind of what you're talking about in the pass rush game. It seems like he doesn't have very many moves, which obviously is going to be developed, with Kusrik and, at the NFL level. But what are you seeing, at least on tape, that shows you flashes or at least gives you the idea that he can develop that aspect of his game? And that is something that, is ascending for him as well.
Yeah, I think one of his best games was the Saints game. You can go watch that one and how he pushed some of those Saints offensive linemen around. But yeah, he was a guy who, when he came out, didn't have maybe more than 2 or 3 pass rush moves. So from that standpoint, yeah, some of that has to be developed. But where he's going to win in the passing game is, again, eating up maybe two offensive linemen because he rushes a certain gap or whatever that isn't protected. And it's going to free up other guys to get one-on-one matchups and things like that. And so that's where you can't discount the value that someone brings, even if he's not winning some of those matchups with his, lack of moves or whatever. Those are going to develop. If he gets a guy in a bull rush situation, it's over for that lineman. And that was the case last season. And when he can't necessarily get to the quarterback like that, he's a guy that can, with his long frame, influence a pass and bat a pass down. So I think you'll see a lot more of that. But I don't necessarily think he's going to be a liability in the passing game as far as being a pass rusher. If they rush him from the interior, which they're going to, he's going to eat up, at least 2 blockers on a lot of occasions, I think.
And what, in your estimation, usually how many years does it take a lineman to really come into their own and start actually showing the type of player that they're going to be?
About 2 or 3 years, if they're not, an Aaron Donald type. I mean, I don't remember much of Aaron Donald's early first 2 years, but I don't remember him getting a lot of the hype that he gets now. So even Buckner, I mean, it's, Buckner came in 16, and
right. It wasn't until like the 2019 season really that he really 18, 19, yeah.
18, 19, yeah.
Mhm.
And then that's just the way it goes for a lot of guys. It's a scheme dependent. It's coaching dependent. Putting them in positions where they're best suited. Like, that's, I think, where they messed up with Solomon Thomas and making him a guy that they thought could be a pass rusher from the edge when he was never a pass rusher from the edge in college.
Mhm.
He should have been an interior guy his whole career, and I think he would have been a lot better off. But I hope they don't make the same mistakes with Kinlaw, and I don't think they will. But I don't think I also think Kinlaw is a much better prospect than Thomas was coming out. But I think they'll be just fine. I don't think they're going to screw this one up.
I mean, and the one thing about Kinlaw that I really like is he seems like he has that motor as far as wanting to be better, right? He came in, you already noticeably different physique than he did the year before. And maybe some of that played the role as far as what you were saying. Maybe he wasn't as healthy as we thought last season. And just that person that is willing to put in the work, those are the type of guys that I think can flourish, especially since probably we have one of the best defensive line coaches in the league. So to be able to have somebody that's willing to put in the work, I imagine a big leap in year 2 and year 3 with Kinlaw as well. And I believe, he's going to be one of the pivotal pieces in why the defensive line is going to make its comeback. And just off one off, how good do you think this defensive line could be this season?
I think it's going to be pretty damn good with all the acquisitions they made and the depth that they have now. The Samson Ebukam signing was kind of weird to me because he's never been a guy that has been someone you think of as a productive pass rusher. Coincidentally, his best pass rushing snaps come in a wide 9 alignment, but he doesn't often rush from there. A lot of his pass rush reps come from just over the tackle, kind of like a 4 or 5 technique. And if he doesn't have that room to get going, then he doesn't win reps that often. So it was kind of a weird signing to me. But if you look at his athletic profile, I forget what website, but he is like a top tier athletic guy. So he has the athleticism that you're looking for to be an edge rusher. And maybe this scheme finally unlocks it, but
I think I saw Ebukam as more of because one of the things that the 49ers always got gashed by is the mobility of a quarterback. Even if they kept, if they shut down all the options, they covered well, and they got, some pressure onto the quarterback, that if they had a guy like Russell Wilson back there or Kyler Murray, they're breaking containment, and the 49ers really didn't have any ability to keep those type of quarterbacks in the pocket and tackle them for loss. I think Ebukam is meant geared towards that, to be kind of like the spy on the quarterback against mobile quarterbacks, because that's always been the Achilles heel of the 49ers. So that's what I more saw that signing for.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely want a guy that can move around the line of scrimmage like that and contain things. But if he has to be a straight pass rusher and a 3-down guy, I don't think it's going to work out for them that well, because he's going to get blown up in the run game.
Yeah, but we shall see. I think they have a lot of great depth. Maybe obviously we have the superstars out there like a Kinlaw and a Bosa, and Armstead hopefully will perform the way that we think he can as well. But then they got a lot of guys like the Arden Keys, the Ebukams, that depth that can Mohurts, that could just come in and like you said, keep these stars fresh. And if we could get anything out of D Ford, if he can play anything, especially at the end of the season or into the playoffs, we're looking at a pretty elite defensive line that, teams are going to really have to figure out a way to block these guys. It's going to help out all levels of the defense, I believe.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, this is a team that really hasn't missed, outside of Solomon Thomas, where they kind of played him out of position. This is a team that really hasn't missed on defensive line talent. Even in 2017 and 2018, they brought guys in, I can't remember their names now, that were not really contributors on the teams they were on, and came in and contributed in their scheme. God, who am I thinking of? I can't even remember. But
what season are you talking about? Last season?
2017, 2018. Man.
Yeah, I'm not.
I don't remember, but they were good, solid contributors in a rotational role.
Hmm.
And then finding DJ Jones extremely late in the draft. They've never really missed on any defensive line prospects or signings outside of Thomas, which I think they royally screwed up. But
Right. That whole
um,
first round of the draft was pretty brutal looking
yeah,
back now.
I'm gonna look up
um,
that roster from 2017 real quick. That's gonna bug
sure.
me.
Yeah, no worries.
Sorry, I'm listening though.
Cassius Marsh is what
Yeah,
is
even
that?
Cassius Marsh was a good, rotational guy who basically went on to other teams based on what he did with the 49ers and didn't really maybe do a lot, but he was there.
And
Um,
Lalo said kind of what you were talking about, being an interior rusher. It's much different than an edge rusher. Interior guys usually take more time to develop. And as a fan base, we can't expect everybody to come out and just be a superstar right from the jump. A guy like Kinlaw, like we think, this year I feel like could be a really big year as far as seeing ascension. And by year 3, year 4, we could see like a super dominant player that really is, the anchor of our defensive line, for the years to come.
yeah, I think so too. I do think that's probably going to be uh, Bosa or Kinlaw. Bosa's a weird
Hopefully
one
both.
for me right now. I don't know if the injury thing is going to be an issue for him or if this is just hopefully it's something he gets past and never has to worry about again. But that family has a weird injury history.
He's just such an explosive player. I don't think your body's built to be that athletic and that explosive and that strong,
Yeah.
and the type of frame that he has. It's kind of it just doesn't. Physics, I guess, is catching up to him every now and then, right?
Yeah.